Perfect. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We would like to welcome HIggs to the Mexico Open at Vidanta. Harry, making your tournament debut, just want to start off with some initial sights and sounds of what it's like to be here at the Mexico Open for the first time.
I don't know that this would technically count as my tournament debut. It would be a debut here. I played in the Mexico Open in Tijuana before it was a PGA Tour event. 5-6 years ago now, but Mexico Open debut on the PGA Tour for sure.
At Vidanta.
At Vidanta, which is a lovely, lovely resort. Yeah, my thoughts on the early part of the week was that hotel room that I guess they didn't give me, but they gave me a nice discounted rate at, is entirely too nice for me and the rest of us. The resort is spectacular. It's a massive, massive property with a ton of things to do. If I had a family, which I do not, it would be definitely a great family week. You water park and pools and restaurants everywhere. It really is awesome, very, very special. And then the golf course is just beyond fantastic. I think it's the best turf conditions that I've seen, and this is now my 4th year on tour. You will not get a bad lie anywhere here, which is really, really cool. It's a big golf course. It's going to be quite difficult. You're going to have to hit a lot of long irons really well and hit some lag putts really well, because long irons are hard to get close to the hole, but I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Going off what you just mentioned, just finished your Pro-Am, so coming off the course, mentioned the length of it. Is there anything you're switching up in the bag or specific game plan in particular with it being a longer setup?
No. I carry 2 hybrids. One of them is a little less loft, so it spins a little less. That's more for off the tee. There's no hybrids off any tees here. It's just driver, hit it as far and as straight as you can. So I think I'll go with the more lofted, more spin option, because there's a good chance that I'll hit it into some par 4s, but certainly some par 5s, hopefully, and some par 4s and even some par 3s.
This will be your 16th start this season. What's kind of an overall assessment of how the season's gone?
Now we get into the tough questions. How to keep this answer short and sweet. It's been better than last year, which is not saying much because last year was quite poor. I have played some really, really great rounds, some what I would call brain-off rounds, where you're just looking at a target, and the ball, you're just swinging freely and the ball just kind of goes there. But I've also played some really poor golf, but really poor golf well. So I've kept myself in it, gave myself the opportunity come the weekend and even, more especially on Sunday, to have some great finishes. But it's caught up to me almost every time, where it's like, just the quality of shots that I was hitting throughout the week. I was able to stave off the bad and the, balls going into bunkers and behind trees and in water for what feels like almost 63 plus holes. I just need to hold on to it for 9 more holes. I would say I'm proud of how I've done so far this year with kind of how I've been swinging. I feel like I'm really close to swinging it how I did when I played the Mexican Open in Tijuana, where it was a lot of brain off. I just look at a target and hit it there. It's a little bit more complicated right now. I'm struggling with just a few things, but I'm certainly proud of the positions that I've put myself in with what I would probably call my C minus game. And then, just one of these weeks it's going to click and I can finally turn my darn brain off and go out and have a great result.
Back here in Latin America, what is it like to be back here with the crowds and people, what you're expecting with the week?
I love it. I have played a lot of great golf. I have made a lot of money in countries where we play golf, and I hear more Spanish than English. It's a special anywhere. I mean, Mexico especially, playing the PGA Tour, Latin America, we played 4 or 5 times throughout a season in Mexico especially, but it will always hold a special place in my heart when I get to visit some of these countries again. I would even love, obviously vacationing here would be lovely, but I would, just some of the cities that we played in South America were just so much fun, so much to do. It's a reminder that I really wish I had taken Spanish in high school and kept up with it, and I guess I could I have plenty of downtime. We always say we don't as professional golfers. I have plenty of downtime. I probably, in my downtime, should do a better job of maybe learning another language, and that certainly would be Spanish. But yeah, I guess Latin countries, Spanish-speaking countries will always hold a special place in my heart because it kind of molded the professional golfer that I am today. Playing the PGA Tour Latin America, you wake up and something's going to go wrong that day. So you're not going to be able to communicate something to somebody that you should. Just something, anything. The timing of shuttles and buses, and it happens in the States too. But kind of not having those perfect days and still finding a way to give it your best effort, shoot the best score you can on those days, certainly made me into the golfer that I am today, and I'm very appreciative of that opportunity, and I view it very, very fondly.
From your time traveling around Latin America, how would you rate your Spanish?
My Spanish was a lot better then than it is now. I had great golf Spanish, and when I went home, nowadays they got stuff on apps and all this, it should be relatively easy to learn, especially if you couple the learning at home with, being indoctrinated with it, going and hearing people talk. And I had great golf Spanish when I was at my best, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row in a Spanish-speaking country. I could do a pretty good job of getting from, the airport or restaurant maybe in a cab or in an Uber back to the hotel. And then I could always figure out, obviously, a dinner order. Those were really the only things that were required. Decent golf Spanish, decent, I'll say, travel Spanish in terms of to and from airports, to and from hotels, and then you got to eat something. So I was pretty decent at ordering some dinners. Most of that's pretty easy, and most everywhere has a English menu anyway, so it wasn't that difficult.
Any specific words or phrases stick with you?
Gosh, less the words and phrases, more kind of the interactions that you would have with caddies. Because, obviously it means a lot to me. It meant a lot to me to have great finishes, a good result. And it meant a lot to the caddies, too. I always, and this was back before we played for multi-million-dollar purses, and we didn't even come close to million-dollar purses, but always tried to do my best to tip them well, tip them according to kind of how we did. Basically, have a wad of cash with me in the week before, and then you'd laugh at a wad. It was a couple $100, and then have a great week and just hand it to them. So in that, the interactions that we'd have on the golf course were always very funny. The caddies were almost more into the result than I was, and sometimes you would have to, hey man, calm down. It's just Thursday. We're going to be okay. I got off to not a great start, but trust me, I am good at this. I'll show you here, maybe hopefully in the next few days. And I even, my last year, 2018, I had a caddy with me for almost every event, maybe a couple in Mexico that he was unable to travel to. So we had a great rapport, right? We couldn't even speak to each other, but we did some great work. And he was very chill. And for the most part, I am too. I can get hot under the collar just like anybody else and trying to do it less. But we just kind of relaxed and knew that, over the course of 72 holes, I'm going to hit enough good shots and hole enough putts that we're going to have a chance, come late on Sunday. And then we were kind of the chillest combo on Sunday, just kind of doing our job, doing our thing, and see how it added up at the end. And we were fortunate to win one and have quite a few top 3 finishes that year. And Claudio was my guy. He did an awesome job. We still stay in touch every now and again. He's still working down in Latin America and enjoying every bit of it. So again, in a roundabout way, I view my time in really Spanish-speaking countries, but anywhere in Latin America very fondly. It was very, very beneficial to go and do what I did. I would tell anybody that is starting out their professional career to go and do it. Play in Latin America, play in Canada. I know they're going to, big news, they're going to combine, but man, I love some of those Latin countries.
Going off what you just mentioned about the announcement yesterday with PGA Tour Americas, kind of what thoughts for that and for the future?
First thought is it's great. It combines the two. Now with everything kind of trickles down, right? January to August schedule and having to kind of sort out eligibility in I guess it would be end of November for us will affect them. So that's a way to combine the two tours, get everybody to play, roughly January to August. I'm on record already that 10 cards on the Korn Ferry Tour is not enough. It should be 20. It should be, in theory, 10 from each. I'll fight good and hard for those guys. I don't know if it'll make any difference because you can't just add 10. They have to come from somewhere, and I'm not in those rooms anymore. I was for my first 3 years, so I don't know the specifics of it. But I've already voiced that 10's not enough. We'll see if anybody listens to me. Probably not, but I think it's a great thing. I think it's great that they combine. I did a few events up in Canada, and Canada's also a great country. But the golf courses didn't vary as much as they did in Latin America, and I felt, in terms of grass type, short, long, playing at elevation, I felt like playing 2 full seasons the PGA Tour Latin America and the differences in golf courses and cities and towns, whereas it was certainly frustrating at times, it allowed me to better prepare myself when I got to a higher level in terms of dealing with adversity. There were plenty of things to gripe about, as there are plenty of things to gripe about any week in any profession, but those that are going to have the most success either look past it or find a way to deal with it. And in Latin America, I would say it was more present versus Canada. It was a little easier. So it's in a way more challenging. And then I guess now they'll be challenged in 2 different ways. You got to deal with playing golf in Canada, and you got to deal with playing golf in Mexico, Central South America. So a very positive thing. We need more than 10 cards, though, if anybody's listened to that.
Do you have any one piece of advice for players that will be playing on the PGA Tour Americas?
I just talked about it with my Pro-Am group, and I was in that boat. You have to bet on yourself. You have to invest in yourself. If the difference, you have to spend money on comfort and convenience. And playing at that level, which I've done, there is not a whole lot of disposable income to spend on comfort and convenience. But when you can do it, and then, I had the most success in year 2 out there when I almost found joy and pleasure in the adversity. Just the random things that may happen that might throw other guys off, but you find a way to deal with it, and you just shrug it off, right? It's hard. It's very difficult. It happens everywhere, and again, in every profession. But those that are going to be the most successful will find ways to deal and kind of work through that adversity. And, in the same vein, those that are the most successful invest and bet on themselves. And the way to do that down there is to do your best to spend your money on comfort and convenience while you're playing, because that's only going to allow you to perform at your best.
I have a few more, wrap things up, but we're going to take some from Herman here.
Come on, Herman. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, amigo. This week, PGA Tour Latin America is playing the Peru Open. Actually, you won that tournament down there. So what kind of special memories do you have from there?
Well, I certainly, obviously, remember the win. It was nice to win that week. The week before Peru, we played in Santiago, and I think I was tied for the lead or 1 behind on Sunday, and just did everything you're not supposed to do. And I think I wound up finishing 10th. It was like, you tee up on the first hole, and I think I hit it into the left rough, or one of the roughs. I don't know that I'm that specific on knowing whether it was right or left. But just like even my ball rolling into the rough, it felt like, oh gosh, I may not win today. And you just can't do that, right? That day, that Sunday you play, it's going to take 4.5, 5 hours. You got to kind of stay very patient. So basically, the week before in Santiago, I did everything wrong, and then I got myself in the position again. I was like, well, I'm just going to do everything the exact opposite, and it worked great. One of the things I also remember from Peru is all the lomo saltado I ate, and the food there. It was fantastic. It was one of the best meals I think I've ever had, and I think it was because we had won on Sunday, and then went up to the hotel we were staying at, and we had 4 or 5 hours to kill before flying. The midnight flight back to Dallas. Fortunately for me, it was direct, and just had I think I might have had 2 orders of lomo saltado, and probably a few too many beers, and then wandered to the airport and got on the plane. And I was so caught up in the win and everything, I didn't download any shows on my iPad, and figured that the plane that we'd be on may be a newer plane and it might have the entertainment in the seat back. It didn't. So that was a pretty miserable flight. You're so jacked up you can't really sleep, and I had nothing to do. So basically spent the next 7 hours thinking about my win and also staring at the chair in front of me. But my belly was full, and I very much enjoyed the food in Peru.
And Mark, go ahead.
Harry, tomorrow will be your 99th start on tour, 4 years out here, but obviously a lot of golf before reaching the tour. Does it feel like that early part of your career went in a flash, or was it a slow burn? And now that you're on the tour, has that 4 years gone quickly or slowly? How would you compare the two?
Yeah, spot on. It felt like it took forever to get out here, and then it felt like I just started, but this is year 4. It's just wild to think about. I guess I'll piggyback off that and kind of try, in my own words, to explain the differences. It was almost in a way more enjoyable, more romantic, the chase, right? You're just like, man, I just got to get better and work my way, and it's opportunities are hard to come by, especially at that level. You've got to earn them, be given them, and then when you have them, you have to take them. And then out here, you get real used to courtesy cars, the fancy hotels, the player dining is just fantastic, and you can find now I can find ways to make up complaints versus, playing the PGA Tour Latin America. We hardly ever had player dining, and if we did, we had to pay for it. We didn't have courtesy cars. We were stuffing 3 or 4 guys and 3 or 4 golf bags into little tiny sedans and driving, an hour from the airport out to the golf course or the hotel we were staying at. But there was kind of it was fun. I mean, it was miserable, but it was fun. It's something that I think about quite often. Like it's different now, and it will forever be different. But I need to find a way to have that enjoyment that I had before in the chase and trying to get here, and not get, you don't want to get, gosh, the word's kind of eluding me, but you don't want to complacent. You don't want to just get out here and, oh, wow, this is enjoyable. I really enjoy, and I think I have about 1 or 2 of them a year. My little brother's my caddy, so I should have more than just 1 or 2 a year, but there's just some time we're walking, it might be a Thursday, Friday, and the day is indifferent, where I just look and think like, holy cow, I'm on the PGA Tour. This is really cool. And I'm making it a point to say it aloud to him, and now his response is like, well, yeah, man, you've been out here for a while now too, right? I mean, it's just to find that little bit of enjoyment versus, I was just thrilled to have a 72-hole golf tournament that I was playing when we were playing the, PGA Tour Latin America, because in and amongst playing those more developmental tours, you're trying to Monday qualify and do all that stuff, and that's not really tournament golf. That's just a organized gambling in a way. I'm trying to always continue to find the enjoyment in playing out here too. It's not that I do not enjoy it, because I certainly do. I take great pleasure in the opportunity to beat the best players in the world every week that I get into a tournament. But just those little things throughout a day, I need to continue to find ways to enjoy them more.
And finish up with your brother on the bag and all the travel you do week to week. He was questioning, what is your biggest pet peeve at the airport?
I'm not a great traveler. It starts before I even get to the airport. And it's partly to do with my time in Latin America, because most weeks down there you could run into a gas station or a CVS if you forgot a Band-Aid or allergy medicine, whatever it may be. But it's tougher for an American, for a gringo, as everybody would call us, to go in there and clearly communicate what it is that you may need. So in that, I packed everything. And somehow I got it, both the golf bag and my suitcase, under 50 pounds. And now it's laughable how heavy those darn things are. So it starts, I'm a poor traveler, it starts before I panic pack. I mean, it takes me like 3 hours. No one can talk to me just so I can keep having this same kind of stream of consciousness about, am I going to forget anything? What might I forget? I need to remember a hat, you know, all this stuff. And then now you don't even need to really remember anything because you get here, and if it's not already in your locker, somebody can run and get it for you. And then sometimes I get a little irritated at, you know, delays and just the other people that are also traveling. I mean, I'm no saint. I've done it enough where I feel that you can quickly lose a faith in humanity when everybody travels, because anybody and everybody gets thrown off about any little thing nowadays. And I do not think I'm like that. Now, my little brother may disagree, but it's you know, we can all certainly care for one another a whole lot more in many different aspects, but especially when people are traveling. You know, you don't need to yell and scream about a baby that might be 3 rows up in front of you crying, because we were all that way ourselves. I'm going to do it one of these days when we're waiting at the baggage carousel. I'm going to stand up and just plead my case that, hey, let's everybody 10 feet back. When you see your bag, you may step up. Because it's hard for me. I got that big golf bag wheeling around, and I take great pleasure in moving people and then just picking that thing up and turning. I still am turning slowly, but if I turn fast, I might knock 3 or 4 people over as I do it, just with how crowded they get. So, yeah, as much as I have to travel, I think I need to improve on it, and certainly pack lighter.
Perfect. Before we wrap it up, I want to make sure there are no questions. Perfect. Harry, thank you for taking the time to join us, and hope you have an enjoyable week.
Thank you very much.